How to calculate the 6,000 years of creation. I've just remade an old video on the 30,000 day hour. This illustrated the fact that if one day is 1,000 years, then 1 hour in a 12-hour day is 30,000 days. In another video, I showed that if you count forward 30,000 days from the 11th of November 1918, or Armistice Day, you come to the 31st of December, the year 2000, or the end of the 20th century. As I've been mulling over these things, I also noted that if you count back 3,000 prophetic years, that is years of 360 days, you come to 957 BC and the completion of Solomon's temple. This is the midpoint of the 6,000 years of creation prior to the final 1,000 year millennial period, which hasn't happened yet. Another interesting fact is that you can calculate exactly 3,000 prophetic years from creation, or year zero, to the completion of Solomon's temple. In other words, you can arrive at this midpoint from both directions by counting back from 31st of December 2000 or by counting forward from year zero. In this video, I am going to show how to count forward from year zero. I have produced a chart to illustrate what I'm talking about. So, following the chart, firstly, there are 1,656 years from the beginning of creation to the flood of Noah. This number can be calculated by anybody simply by adding up the generations given in the book of Genesis. In a similar way, you can add up the years to the birth of Abraham, which brings you to 2008 years from creation. Abraham left his home in Haran at the age of 75, which brings us to 2083 years. The total years of this sojourning of the Israelites was 430 years. Ezekiel chapter 12 verse 40. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. This brings us up to 2,513 years since creation, and it brings us to the date of the Exodus from Egypt. From this point, the Bible tells us that there were another 480 years from the Exodus until the start of Solomon's temple. 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 1. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. If you add the 480 years to the 2,513 years, it comes to the year 2,993, the year that Solomon started work on his temple. This brings us to the great Sir Edward Denny, who you can find out about on the website. Sir Edward believed in unreckoned periods of human rebellion, which God does not include in his prophetic timeline. During the period between the Exodus and the start of the temple, there were 131 years when Israel was rebellious and under foreign domination. There were, in fact, 611 years recorded in the Bible between the Exodus and the start of the temple. However, 131 of these years were not recorded on God's timetable and were what Sir Edward called unreckoned periods. So if you take the 131 years away from the 611 years, you get the 480 prophetic years between the Exodus and the start of the temple. So on God's timeline, we are in the year 2993 when the temple was commenced. It then took 7 years to furnish the temple and complete it. 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 38. And in the 11th year in the month Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it. So was he 7 years in building it. That brings us to the year 3000. Exactly 3000 prophetic years since the start of creation, and exactly 3000 years before the end of the 20th century on the 31st of December, the year 2000. So I know it might sound a little complicated, but I hope you found it interesting. You can find more information on the website prophecy-workshop.com. Thank you for listening.